and all this nonsense. Heck, there's countries that kill each other. They've done it for thousands of years. Why should I hang my hat on that and be depressed over it? But what we can think about is this. I'm part of this divine energy, and this divine energy comes from love and wisdom. So everything that's going on is in divine order. I may not understand it. I sure don't like to see it sometimes. But I don't need to have a label on it and say this is bad or this is good. We don't need to do that. We can know that we're connected with a divine energy source that comes from divine intelligence and wisdom, and whose duty assignment actually seems to be is to have each one of us be, we're not only a drop in the ocean, but within each of us, all the characteristics of the one is within each of us. We are the ones, you see? And when we do that, we can look at things like 12 fires. We lost 33 houses. Rather than connect into and say this is all negative, what's the good? And we look at what's going on and we say, what is the good that's coming out of all this? If there is only God, and God is all there is, and it's all good, then why are we experiencing the fires? We don't really, at our level of understanding, as Emerson said, we cannot know God from the conscious mind, from the human mind. But there's a divine energy that says this is going to be happening, and we're going to learn from it. And from the learning, we evolve, and we all evolve when the bad things, so-called bad things that really aren't bad, that is happening. It's to bring us to a higher level of spirituality, to help us evolve in spirit. And when we do that, we realize and we unlock the magnificence that we are. I'm going to close with, I was going to talk about Dr. Bernard Grad. But I think we've already proved that there's an energy out there. And of course, not talking about him, we'll mention a couple things, if you don't mind. Dr. Bernard Grant out of McGill University did some research on this whole idea that there's this energy out here and in response to us. But and some of us know this story quite a bit, but what he did, he realizes that salt water will kill plants. If you put seeds in salt water, they don't grow. They're stunted. So he decided, I'm going to do a little experiment here. So he got a bunch of us practitioners. I said, I included myself in this thing, isn't that cool? But he got a bunch of practitioners, and he did this. He got this bucket of salt water. And he had 2 buckets of salt water. One bucket, he decided to have these partners, these practitioners pray over it, hands over it, do prayer treatment over it. Isn't that cool? And the other bucket, nobody did anything. It was just salt water. And then he went ahead and poured the salt water on the seeds, the various seeds, and they have two different spaces there. The salt water that was soaked with the seeds, with the salt water, the seeds that were soaked with the salt water, they did not look like they were soaked with salt water. They were blossoming, they were expanding, they were growing normally. The batch that was not soaked with the salt water, the salt water wasn't blessed by the practitioner. They were stunted growth. They weren't doing very well. And when he said, oh my gosh, that the human body, the human experience, we do have a direct connection to spirit. And here's a proof of it. And then he said, well, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to use regular water. I'm not going to use salt water. I'm going to use regular water. And I'm going to have people who are really criminally insane, or people who are really in bad shape mentally, I'm going to have them touch the regular water, and then I'm going to have just regular water over here, and let's see what happens. And he did, and the seeds that were soaked with the water that was held by those that were kind of disconnected to spirit didn't do very well. They were stunted growth. The seeds that were soaked with regular water grew naturally. So that was one experience that showed that Bob is right, Greg Braden's right, that there is an energy field out there that we relate to. I'm going to close with a cute story, and let's just do it. We are so disconnected from spirit so often. We are. And we get disconnected depending on the volume of stuff that comes our way. You know, we're here to experience the ups and the downs and all the stuff that we consider negative. But this couple wanted to have their baby baptized. So they go to the father. And Father, we'd like to baptize our little child. And the father said, well, let's meet Friday night. I want to go over it with you to make sure that everything's good, and we'll do it Saturday morning. So anyway, this story is a story of disconnection with spirit. So a good father said to the couple, and to the man particularly, he said, I want to make sure that you realize the seriousness of this situation. How serious and how important baptism is in this Catholic Church. Very important. We want to know if you're prepared for this. And the young man said, of course we're prepared. We take it very seriously. We're very prepared for it. My wife has set up the place right here. She's ordered the caterer to bring the food. And she said, and we're going to have good music, and people are really going to enjoy this. And the pastor, the priest was frustrated. He said, that's not what I mean. Well, what do you mean, Father? What I mean is, are you prepared spiritually for this? Oh, I understand what you're saying. Are we prepared spiritually for this? Absolutely. I want you to know, Father, we take this very seriously. It's very important in our child's life. And he said, I've got a keg of beer. We've got a whole case of whiskey. And we're going to have a ball and everybody's going to have fun. Anyway, in closing, this story shows that we are so disconnected sometimes from that which we are. We are this life form of the divine. When we realize it, embody it, and embrace it as our very own, when we take ownership of it, our life changes, I guarantee it. And say with me loud and clear.
That's all it is.